Huh? Western civilization, no? The Western way of life. That's the paradigm. Western civilization. A way of looking at the whole thing that has gone in the world and is going in the world, and it's Western. That's why, we have the G20. The G20 is about maintaining this Western paradigm. And they say we get together to defend the way of living. What's the way of living? The Western paradigm. And the Western paradigm did what she was talking about. That's where it's at. To all the indigenous peoples of the world. Now, let me ask you. Any of you is indigenous? You're indigenous, right? You think you are? Okay, and you? Do you think or you know? I know I am indigenous. And you know what? All of you are indigenous. Because indigenous has to do, that was the word, racist word, that the colonizers made when they came to a country and they say, they are the indigenous, the ones generated inside of this place. We are not the indigenous because we came from far away. And so it was the way to divide, to make the difference. And those were the ones that had to be exploited. This is what the doctrine of discovery was about. The Western paradigm started with the doctrine of discovery. Would you believe? And go back and read history, When I was a teenager, I had to learn history. And, history, right? History. But if you really learn to read, you'll be able to see what, and you are going to smile like you're catching up. You say, it's not just like it's being painted to me. So, the teacher would say, this is the book that we are going to use this semester. So get ready and come and, read the first chapter. And what happens when you read the first chapter and you're reading history or whatever you're studying? What happens when you do what the teacher tells you? Read the first chapter. Tell me. Do you ever read the first chapter when the teacher tells you? Yes? You do. Everybody does. Well, I am thankful because it's not that I was bright or very intelligent. It's just that I love knowing. So I would get the book, look at the pictures that they have put on it, because for a purpose they put a picture in there. What was the title? What is the subtitle? The name of the person, and read about that person, and it's right there in that book. And the things that we never read, and read in the back, and read the introduction, and read to who he dedicated this thing, or she dedicated that book, and then I read the whole book, and I don't have to read the details. I read, the introduction, and a note to the readers, and then I read, the index, and then I see what is it that person is presenting in each chapter. How did a person name each chapter? And then I read the beginning of the chapter with the title and the conclusion. And I go to, in 2 hours I have read it. I have the whole picture. And then I can have my opinion. Do you see what I'm saying? At least it's not just his story anymore. It's part of my story also that I'm creating, because then I understand what happened. But when they give you these little bites, and from little kids we should learn to think like that. And so, what happened with the doctrine of discovery, imagine, and I saw it. And my sister, whom you know, who is, the youngest, she wouldn't do many things because she would hear me say, that's wrong. So she wouldn't do it. And she said, all my life I have felt different because you said that was wrong. And she figured it out, But this is the thing. In the doctrine of discovery, Columbus went to do what? Think of it. Think of it and make the relation with today. What did Columbus go to do? See, let's say it now. Whoever talked. Who answered? What did Columbus go out to do? And, you know, he was giving a bunch of people who were in the jails because nobody wanted to go because they thought, I'll die if I go. Because at that time they thought that the earth was flat and you got to a point that you fall. You know, that was very brave of them to do it still. But because he not only believed, he knew that it wasn't true, you know. And you see, how was the church participating on all that? Think of it. The church. What was the church saying at that time?
I feel like the A+ student today. I said, I feel like the A+ student today. No, I think Isabel, I read that she was very religious and that how he could minister was that he wanted to spread Christianity and I think that could minister to the
That's what you read? His story? No. What did Columbus go to do? Remember? They tell you. He was going, huh? I hear somebody. No, he didn't say about that. Later on, he found out that there was a new world. We were there forever, just like the ones in Europe and in Africa. Africa, that's the oldest thing, really. You know, but he said, I can revive markets. I'll go and get, what?
Silk.
Say it.
Went to India. He was trying to go to India.
He was trying to go to India. Now, he ended up in what is now, and I always say, is now called the Americas. Because we never were called that. That was not our name. Our name for Tehuantisuyo, Abya, you know, all those things. But not America. Why is it called America? And everybody's calling it America. And you should see all the crazy things that happen after all that thinking happened. So he was going to India. America is here, thinking them up. America is in one side, India is over here. And you have to go through, at that time, you had to go through all of, you know, Constantinople. Where is Constantinople? Turkey and all that, you know, to get to India. But what was he, and not only to India, he wanted to go to China too, right? Why? To get, say it loud.
spices.
And silk. Who do you think needed spices and silk at that time? Do you think the peasant people needed it?
The royalty.
The royalty. The realeza, we call it in Spanish. And realeza has to do with the name real, R-E-A-L. Real. What was real was the royalty. Imagine, they determined what was real. Because royalty comes from that word, real, realeza. Okay, so he went, he was supposed to go one way and get spices and silk for the rich, for the enriched people that were exploiting the peasants in the feudal communities. And so he ended up in what is called the Americas. And he ended up in an island that was called, he named it San Salvador. Because, oh, Holy Savior, thank you. Because they were going to kill him if they didn't arrive. So think, I'm reading all that when I am about 12 years old and I'm saying, and then why do they say that he discovered us? He got lost. Our people fed him, fixed things, sent him back, and then he's still saying, I discovered. And on top of that, he said, and in the name of the Queen and the church, I take possession. That is the doctrine of discovery. And constantly we keep discovering things, how to take over. iPod is another way of discovery. All of you, I haven't seen anybody so connected all the time and so disconnected. Boyfriend and girlfriend are walking in the street, and they don't even look at each other. They are talking with somebody else. Disconnected and a half. You know, that is taking possession. So Occupy movement. Remember I told you that before you thought what you were going to think, they already knew what you were going to think, and they figured out how to deal with it. See, in Spanish, we talk about Columbus getting lost and saying discover, and then taking possession and all that. We call it occupation. Ocupar. Even right now, you know, when people get upset, and you know, you are too young to know, but some time ago, students would take ocupar. They would take a university to demand. That was an occupation. And when there is an invention, it is occupation. You know, and there are ways of occupation. But then also, at the very time that Columbus got lost, say it right, he got lost. I admire the guy, but he got lost. You know, he got lost. And I think that, thank you very much, that I have to deal with the way things are right now, but I am not too sure. No, I'm sure that that's not the way I really would like it, because it's so unequal. More, women in the world are more than half the people in the world, and we are subservient, and we don't own this, and we don't have the other. I don't even want to own anything. I just want everybody to live in peace. We cannot live in peace when somebody is on top of the others. You see? And so, when we see that the people here do the Occupy movement, they are being